Today, in this video, I'll be going over my thought process and the steps I took to make this transition screen come to life using Clip Studio Paint and Rive. I'll be splitting this video into three main parts, from the initial brainstorming stage and illustration process, to prepping the layers to be animated, and lastly, animating the illustration in Rive. But before all that, I needed to come up with an idea. Since I have a sort of nature aesthetic going on with my channel banner and profile picture, I knew I wanted something to match that aesthetic. So I came up with three ideas with that in mind. The first was for a big group of leaves to come from the top left of the screen and exit the bottom right to just have a nice clean wipe transition. The second idea was for some tree roots to come from all the sides of the screen, cover up the transition, then leave the same way they came in. The last idea I came up with was for an acorn to fall in the middle of the screen, then for a tree to sprout and have its leaves cover up the transition. I was hung up on this decision for quite a while, but as you've probably already guessed, I decided to go for the root transition in the end. Since I thought it would look a lot less cluttered than the leaves, and also because after giving it some more thought, I thought the sprouting tree was going to be a little too difficult for me to do. The next step was just to actually draw on the roots I wanted to use. So I created a new layer in Clip Studio and got to work. Looking back on it, this probably took way more time than it should have, but in the end, I came up with this design. And in the moment, I was pretty proud of myself for making such a sick and dynamic tree root. But the more I looked at it, the more I realized how needlessly over-designed and really shaped it was. So I scrapped it. After many more failed designs and way too many hours of me being a stubborn perfectionist, I came up with these 5 simple designs. And after giving them silly little names and a gradient, they were all ready for the layering process. To get the exact design I was looking for, I made duplicates of the original set of roots and moved the duplicates all around the edges of the canvas to places I thought they would look nice. I did this 2 more times, making the roots and their gradients slightly darker each time. I then color picked one of the darker roots and set that as the background to use in the transition later. And after exporting every single layer, everything was in place to start animating. The first thing I did in Rive was to import all the layers of one of the root folders, then make custom meshes for all of them and align them to the background. Which, by the way, if you're planning on doing something similar to what I'm doing in Rive, you don't actually need to make new meshes for each of the things you're trying to animate. I did this because I thought it would make keeping track of what way the roots were facing a whole lot easier. Next, I keyframed their starting positions, moved it all the way to the end of the timeline, then moved the root I wanted to animate off screen, and keyframed that position to the beginning of the timeline. I also let the animation play out for a few seconds before keyframing its position and making a copy of that keyframe and moving it up a few frames to give the root the effect that it was stopping before slowly crawling into frame again. To give the transition a little more pop, I also changed the interpolation of all the keyframes to cubic and moved the values around for each keyframe to make the animation a little more dynamic. I repeated this process for almost every single root, which, by the way, if you're wondering, was 90. 90 roots. Thankfully though, because of how I positioned a few of them, I could make them a child of a bigger root, which is just fancy talk for whenever the big tree root would move, the small one would move too. And after many hours of contemplating why I chose to do this to myself, I ended up with this animation that I'm actually quite proud of. But whenever I tried to export the animation with a transparent background from Rive, the edges of the roots would always have a weird glitchy effect, which really discouraged me since I thought all that work and struggle just led to absolutely nothing. But then, it hit me. Wait, what if I'd set the background to a really bright blue and delta key it DaVinci Resolve? And that's exactly what I did. I opened up DaVinci, delta keyed it in the Fusion page, and boom! My pride was restored. For today at least. After that, I just imported the brown background from Clip Studio and made it slowly fade in and out, freeze framed the roots when they were fully extended, and reversed the speed of the animation to close out the transition. And after that, this was the result. All in all, I'm actually pretty proud of how the transition came out, especially since this is my first time ever trying something out like this. And hey, if you want to see what else I have in store for this channel, whether it's a step-by-step or just a normal gameplay video, then make sure to subscribe. It really helps me and the channel out, and you have no idea how much I would appreciate it if you did. Well, that's it for today. I'll see you in the next one.